Hey everybody, I'm Alicia, and today we're going to talk about how to use a challenge to build a hyper-engaged community for your e-commerce brand. This is my fiance and I. We built our company, Live Infinitely. We sold water bottles, the most unsexy, unoriginal product you could pick. But we sold our water bottles. We grew it to 8 figures in revenue as a small team of 3. It was just me, my fiance, and my best friend right here, just us 3. So one of our biggest contributors for our growth was our community. That was like, there's Matira, there she is. That was one of the biggest things that absolutely changed everything for us, was by building out our community. We launched our 60-day hydration challenge January of 2020. And from that point forward, like, our entire brand has changed. So today I just want to talk about, one, why a challenge is the most effective way to build a community for your brand. Like, what does that mean? Like, how does a challenge equal community? How do you structure that? Then we'll talk about how to figure out your customer journey. You know, what is that journey that your customers are on, and how can you plug that into the challenge framework? And then how to use your challenge to scale all aspects of your business. Because this, for me, was like huge because I was in charge of all things marketing. And so when we had our community, it just made my life so much easier. So this is what we'll cover today. But quick story, I just want to talk a little bit more about how we came up with this idea. This is Shad and I. We started selling on Amazon in 2014. We basically just picked our products based off bestseller rank. You know, we were just like, oh no, that looks great, that looks good. We really had no strategy. It was much easier to sell on Amazon back then. And so the first few years we saw like really great growth, 100% plus year over year, every single year. Like, it was just really exciting. We always knew that the goal ultimately was to sell. That was like the big goal that we always wanted to do, but we were kind of struggling for a while. In 2018, we hit a roadblock. We were kind of like plateauing at that point. There was no like consistent growth. We were still like 90% on Amazon. We were trying to be more direct to consumer and build our Shopify store, but we really hadn't built that out at all. So our year over year growth rate was struggling. We really weren't unique. We're like, how can we sell this? How can we build a brand and actually sell? So that's when we needed to figure out our next path. Okay, so what products could we continue to sell or launch? How could we grow off of Amazon? That was like just one of our biggest goals, because since we have products weren't really all that unique, what was our differentiator? I mean, we sold water bottles. They were cute, and I liked my logo. But like, you could buy water bottles at Walmart, at the dollar store. So they really weren't like that unique. And then how could we continue to grow with such a small team and limited budget? Because that was definitely one of our biggest hurdles. We just didn't know. When we got started, we didn't know about profit margins and things to help you grow. We just like, this looks like a good product. Bestseller rank is good. So we just launched water bottles that just like went crazy, and we ran with that, but we just didn't have margins. We were working off of this big of margins, hence why our team was just so small. So how could we continue to grow with all of these huge obstacles in our way? So that's when I realized we had no idea who our customers actually were this whole time. From day one, I wanted to actually like launch a brand, like genuinely from the very beginning. Our company was called Live Infinitely, and the name for that means to live your life with infinite possibilities. And I wanted to go out there and inspire and remind people that they could do anything with their life. They could achieve these things that they wanted to do. So that was the goal, but I didn't, you know, people buying products on Amazon, I was like, hopefully they see our logo and they're like, I'm inspired. You know, like, we weren't really helping them on that journey to live with infinite possibilities. And so I realized we were really struggling there. We didn't know who our products were. We were just picking products based off bestseller ranks. I mean, at one point we were selling hammocks and foam rollers and backpacks and bug nets. It's just like, we were just all over the place. And we're like, all right, we're not really clear on our brand. And it's really important to build a brand. And so that's when we really dug deep. I was so excited. I got this whiteboard, and you can read all of that. It's a lot of crazy stuff. But like, I put this whiteboard on our wall in our warehouse, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna like really figure out who our customer is, like who are our best customers and what is their journey. You know, Live Infinitely, we're trying to inspire them to set goals, to believe in themselves, to be healthy, happy. So I was like, all right, you know, our customer before, you know, they have no energy, maybe they're not confident, they're confused, insecure. Maybe afterwards, we want them to feel beautiful, be active, drinking water, have goals, all these cool things. And what are all the objections that are stopping our customer from achieving that dream outcome that they really wanted to? So I just spent like a week or two like penciling this down, like, all right. And I was like so excited, you know, like, okay, I'm gonna really help this customer. Because that's when I realized, you know, our product wasn't the solution. You could buy a water bottle anywhere. But people were coming to us because we had this mission, and our goal was to encourage and remind people they could live their life with infinite possibilities. And so that's when I realized, a water bottle is not going to help them do that. It's not the solution. It's just one of the tools that they need to achieve that dream outcome. So what's everything else that our customer needs? And this was our avatar, I realized. Our customer, she wanted to be so happy. She wanted to have support. She wanted to feel like she was a part of something. She wanted to be active, to love herself, to feel seen, and to be healthy. Like, that's what she wanted, when she was coming to us. And so how could we help her? And a lot of companies just don't go this deep. It's like, you think of a water bottle and you're like, oh, they want to be hydrated. It's like, that's surface level, obviously. But like, what else? What is the value? What is the mission behind your brand that's different that can help your customers? And so that's when I asked myself, all right, so how can we help our customers achieve that dream outcome, even if they never pay us? And that's when I had like so many ideas. I was like, all right, I'm going to come up with like workout guides. So I had a lot of ideas, to help this woman achieve that. I was going to because that's who I am. Like, I love setting goals. I love being healthy. I love being active. So I'm like, I'm going to create her all these things, like ebooks, like how to eat healthier, all my favorite recipes. I was going to create guides and videos and all these workout programs. And I'm like, this is going to help this woman. I'm going to be like, feel so good. I was just so excited. But then reality hit, because this was me. Like, there's just no way in hell I could have done that. I was in charge of our email marketing. I did all of our graphic design. I ran all of our Facebook ads. I took all of our photography. I wrote all of our blog posts. Like, we were a small team. So there's just no way. Like, I was in charge of all things marketing. My fiance did all analytics, inventory, branding, and material was wonderful, and we put it in a hot warehouse packaging. There's just no way we could have actually built all of those resources to help our customer. So that's when I came up with the idea of bundling everything into this video. Just to kind of paint that picture, there was no time. This is us in our warehouse packaging 600-700 orders a day, on top of running our ads, on top of email marketing, on top of unloading our containers of products. Like, we were just kind of masochistic, I think. We just didn't have a life. And so there's just truly no time to do all those things to really serve our customer. And so that's when I came up with the idea of bundling everything into a 60-day challenge. And this just changed everything, because it gave me a vehicle to over-deliver and truly change the lives of my customers without having to go build all those assets and all those resources and all those things. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And big picture, what it did for our brand, this is one of those crazy days, how we slept for a whole day after packaging that day's orders. But what it did is it tripled our revenue, increased our customer lifetime value by 45%, which is absolutely huge, because we sold $14 water bottles. And so it's really important to have people come back and buy more, because paid advertising is very expensive. And it helped us build user-generated content, which was like so cool. I was calling my grandma and my friends, and I'm just like, please take a picture with our bought product, and we send it to us, and I was begging people and bribing people. But when we had this community, it was just content. And this content turned into the best ads, and I'll show you some of those that converted like crazy, which is amazing because they were real and authentic, and it was really cool. And it helped us build raving fans, customers that not only just wanted to buy our products, but they were raving fans. It was really cool. It helped us understand our customers more, which we didn't, obviously. We were doing bug nets. And so it helped us understand what exactly our customers really wanted and build that roadmap, which if you're planning on selling your business is very important, because we were able to present the new buyers, here's a 5-year game plan. Here's exactly what our customers want. Go for it. And that was very powerful to show those buyers. Also increased our word of mouth marketing, which we didn't have any of before, but now we had mothers referring their daughters to come join our community, doctors saying, hey, go join the 60-day hydration challenge. If you need to drink water, go do that. People were telling everyone to come join our community. And word of mouth marketing is the best, because you don't pay for that. Helped us generate new leads, because before this we didn't have a strategy. We didn't know how to generate leads, and our email list went from 70,000 to almost 300,000 by the time we sold in a year and a half. And it also just differentiated us. We were a water bottle company, and I think they're pretty cool, but you can get this anywhere. We were no longer were we just water bottles. We were, it's gone. We were an experience that you couldn't get anywhere else. We were the 60-day hydration challenge. And you couldn't just go to Nalgene and join that. So, number one, why a challenge is the most effective way to create loyalty and build a community. So as you guys know, Facebook's been pushing group content. Your Facebook pages are kind of dead. You post stuff and your customers may or may not see it, probably don't see it. But with Facebook groups, your customers actually see the content that you're posting because Facebook's pushing that. Facebook realizes that people are on that platform for the groups, and so it's pushing them to join the groups as well. But people don't know what to do when they join a Facebook group. You join a group about a brand and maybe you have a question about shipping or you have a question about something, but that's about it. You ask in the group, or you maybe see what's going on, but then you're gone. So all your customers join these Facebook groups for these brands, and they're just like, I get it, you're a cool brand, but what's in it for me? So they don't really hang out and engage as much. But with a challenge, you're able to attract your ideal customer with true value to them. It's not about you, it's them. It's attracting your customer. Your challenge is the vehicle that they're attracted to. Like, oh my gosh, 6-day hydration challenge, I suck at drinking water. Yeah, I want to join. And then your engagement is high because it's about them and their customer journey that they're going through. It's not about how wonderful you are. And they'll talk about how wonderful you are, and that's like the side benefit. But the entire thing is about them, and people love to talk about themselves. So they're going to show up and join your community. So with a challenge, you're taking your customers on a shared journey from point A to point B. And your customers here and they want to go there. And when people do that together, like new moms, it's a new experience. They don't know what to do, so they find other moms. This creates conversation. This is community. And when people are on a journey together, this is a community. And so it's no longer just like, hey, this is cool water bottles. It's like, hey, I don't know how to drink more water. What's your tip? They start sharing tips, tricks, and advice, their successes, their failures with each other, asking each other for more help. And so this is what really gets that engagement in that community to be engaged, because they're going on a journey together. And it's creating a path for your customers to be successful with your products. And that's the biggest thing that really makes a difference is some people think the worst thing that could happen to your business is people just not buying your products. But really the worst thing that could happen is people buying your products, sticking them on a shelf and never coming back. You pay a lot of money, especially nowadays, to acquire customers. It's very expensive. So we want our customers to buy your products, use them, be successful with them, so then they start telling all their friends about how wonderful your products are. That's going to grow your business, not new customers. We want your customers to use your products, so give them a roadmap to be successful with them. And then when somebody is actually successful with your products, this is brand loyalty. One quick example is, here real quick. When you go out of your way to take your customers from point A to point B, they will not only be repeat customers, they're going to be lifelong fans. Because a lot of businesses don't go this deep. They're just like, hey, you bought our product, now here's some helpful information. Where if you say, hey, here's some helpful information, do you want to buy our product later on? That's going to be the biggest thing that changes the game for you is oh my gosh, this brand actually helped me. They helped me achieve my dream outcome. I didn't even pay them, and they helped me more than anybody else has that I've even paid. So what else would happen now if I actually go buy something from this company? They already provided me so much value. And so with a challenge, it's a systemized way to over-deliver. It's putting your customers on a shared journey together to build a community, and it teaches them all of the other things that they need to learn to be successful with your products. So they actually use it, and they actually start referring their friends to your company. And it's just a well-oiled machine. And I like to emphasize this because we couldn't afford to have something be time-consuming. We were so busy. And so this is why I love challenges for community, because it is a machine you can plug in and run forever. And it doesn't have to be this thing that takes up a lot of time, but you look like an incredible company because you really care. So a quick example, melatonin. So if you just sold a melatonin supplement and you're like, hey, here it is, knock yourself out, literally, that's funny. Here's some melatonin, hope you sleep better. And you just kind of hope that they take it and hope that they sleep good. A lot of people just buy stuff, I'm guilty of it. You buy a new book and you're like, oh, I'm gonna read this one day, and you don't, or you buy all these things, you just stick in your drawer. Unfortunately, a lot of people are like that. And so, but if you were to help your customer, educate them on all of the other things that they need to learn to be successful using melatonin, like reducing their blue light before bed, or cutting off their caffeine at a certain time, or meditating, or all of these things you could put into a challenge that helps educate them. Now when they actually do take your supplement, they are going to sleep better, because it's not just that your product isn't the solution. Like I keep saying, it's just one of the things that they need. So what are all the other things that they need? And that's what you use your challenge to educate them on. So when they take your supplement, they sleep good. So ultimately, your goal with the challenge is to make them the hero of their own story. And genuinely, and I mean genuinely, this has to be very authentic. You have to truly care about getting committed to the success of your customers. Like getting genuinely, insanely committed to making sure that they're successful by every means possible, even if they don't pay you. So when you structure your group with processes and repetitive systems, AKA a challenge, engagement increases because your community knows what's going on. It's this process, 60-day hydration challenge, we meet weekly, and all these things that we will talk about the structure of it. And so people know what to do, what to expect, so they show up and they engage. And this was one of our kickoff parties. Atir and I were like exhausted after this because it was just like, it was crazy. Like it was so many people who showed up, and it was just like, and this is just what it became, you know, and we just loved it. We were able to communicate and meet these women. This video ended up being like 2 hours because we're like, hello, all of you, and we try to like say hi to all of them. But a challenge, that process in place for you to have repetitiveness so people show up. So, summary, your customers in a group going through a shared experience hosted by you, the company, learning from one another, sharing tips, tricks, and advices, and always having topics of new conversation. That's what a challenge does, and that's why it's such an effective way to build a community. So, number 2, I'm gonna get some water real quick. So how you can figure out your customer's journey and plug that into a challenge framework. Because every brand has a customer journey. Ours definitely seemed a lot more obvious, which it wasn't. You know, at first, I had to like actually dig in and figure out what our customer journey was. But how to actually figure out what your customer journey is and plug that in. First step really is to look at the 3 markets. So I didn't come up with this. This is just like a general consensus. There's like really 3 core needs people are trying to fulfill when they buy anything. And it's either something to do with their health, something to do with their wealth, or something to do with their relationships. And so really asking yourself, where does your brand serve your customers? What of these 3 core needs? There's lots of needs, but these are the core needs that people are looking to fulfill when they go shopping. And so after we do that, this is the whiteboard that I did in our office, just a lot prettier. And we want to identify the before state and the after state of our customers and all the objections that are stopping them from achieving their after state. So before state, obviously surface level for us is they are thirsty. You know, after state, obviously external is they're no longer thirsty. And so a lot of times customers or brands market like that, like, hey, are you thirsty? Come buy our water bottle. But we go deeper into the internal desires, and these are only things, you can only answer this as the brand because you have to have a mission behind your brand to answer these questions. But what is that internal before state that your customers are really going through? You know, ours felt lonely. They wanted to be a part of something, to be confident, to have energy, to show up in life. And the after state was having energy and feeling confident, feeling like they're part of this community. All the objections stopping our customer was, you know, not having time, energy, resources, not feeling like they were good enough. And so this is a prettier version of my whiteboard that I put here, and some of it might not make sense. It doesn't make sense to me anymore. But like I wrote it all down, you know, like in segments, you know, they're no energy, they're scared, and like I was gonna make a pooping like a pro ebook. Just all these things that just made no sense. But you kind of just map out that customer journey that they're going through. And this is like even beyond a challenge. You should just do this for email marketing, for all your ads. This is how you should communicate with your customers. It is really taking them to that after state that is a lot deeper than just getting hydrated. And so the challenge framework, this is how we set ours up. We have a core objective. This is one thing that they pledge to do for a certain amount of time, however long it is. It really doesn't matter. Longer is kind of easier because then it can just go. But like we had a core objective was, you know, pledge to drink however many ounces of water per day. What's really important about this is that you meet them where they're at. You know, we couldn't just say, join the 60-day hydration challenge and drink a gallon of water every day. That's not where some people are at. Some people can only start with 5 ounces of water, and we just want to help them build the habits and start getting successful. So they came in and made their own pledge of how many ounces that they'll pledge to drink. And then all of these mini weekly challenges is what keeps the engagement going and how you can like develop a deeper relationship and help them further is, you know, week 1, we talk about self-love. Week 2, we're going to talk about healthy eating. Week 3, we're going to talk about stepping outside your comfort zone. So all of the other things that we've identified on our sheet here all of these things that we wanted to do, we put into our weekly challenges as the thing that are going to help serve them and take them further. So this was our challenge, the 60-day hydration challenge. They could pledge however many ounces of water. I pledged to drink 60 ounces of water per day, and we had a bunch of different, so many. These are just like a sample of just some of them. We had stretching, self-love, gratitude, habit crusher, mile walking. And then by the end of this challenge, it's so much more than just drinking water. By the end of it, these women felt empowered. They felt like they had tried something new that changed their life. And so that's the whole concept of piecing it together like this with a core objective, something simple, doesn't have to be like life transformational, just something that can meet them where they're at. And then all the weekly challenges, this is where you can go ahead and push them a little bit further and try things that make them step outside their comfort zone. So this is how ours ended up. 6-day hydration challenge was the core thing. This was the thing that we went out and ran as ads to attract people, like come join the 60-day hydration challenge. But then we went further with our stretching week, self-love, gratitude, habit crusher week, mile walking. And by the time we sold, I had ran 10 6-day hydration challenges or so. And now Tira, she's running it, I think, and they're all like around 15. And what's really cool is the weekly challenges, I don't know where I'm pointing. Weekly challenges, it helps them with all of those other things that your customers need to be successful. Just drinking water isn't the only thing. It's like self-love and confidence. And what's really, really cool and like the secret superpower is that it changes up the conversation weekly. So that's why these groups are hyper engaged. Because if you were just to join a 6-day hydration challenge, people lose interest. They're like, I'm done. And that still happens. But with every single week being like healthy eating week and then self-love, every week topics of conversation are changing, and now people are sharing their favorite recipes, their favorite tips, tricks, and advice on this or that. So it just changes, and that's what keeps that engagement going. And you set this once, and you build some templates, you just keep going. You don't have to post more than once a week. And that was the thing, is I didn't have time to go in there and like, what's up, guys? Please engage. It was like, hey, this week we're going to talk about self-love. I'll see you next week. And I'd go and I'd package all of our orders, do all of our ads, and then meet up again for our weekly live video on Sunday, say what's up, here's our winners, now we're on to stretching, have fun. They kept themselves engaged. And that was what's really cool about it. And so the biggest thing too is you just build this to be evergreen. And that was one thing I've emphasized, is I just didn't have time to have this be something that we had to restructure and do. We just ran it over and over and over, and it's okay, and people will join again and again and again. Our first challenge was in January 2020, and we still have members of that community that have done all 15 rounds. They come back. And the reason they come back is because the weekly challenges are changing. So it's a whole new experience every single time. They have they have new members that are participating with them. They have new weekly challenges. Now they just love the brand, so they just want to still be there. So engagement continues to go, and you just keep it in one group. It's not cohorts. It's one group, and it just builds on that. And then the biggest thing is you just build meaningful relationships with them. I always tell people this is the biggest thing that makes brands successful or not successful, is you really have to care. You can't just fake it. They know if you care or not. And we would spend every single Sunday for 2 years. I would go live at 7 p.m. Eastern after packaging and just do a live video. We would do our weekly roll call, announce prizes for who won that week. I'd check in and spend time with them, ask them how their husbands were, how their dogs are, remember their names, talk about what's going on in the company, and just say, hey guys, we're thinking of doing blue water bottles. What do you guys think? So they felt like they were a part of building the community and the brand with me. And yeah, company announcements. And so you have this opportunity. That's what's really cool about this, is you have this opportunity to connect with your customers and understand who they actually are with these weekly live videos. And so that was what was so powerful about that. And I remember I went back to Utah one time, and my parents sat me down, and they're like, all right, Alicia, what's going on? Are you a cult leader? What's happening? And I was laughing, but it kind of turned out to be a little bit, but in a good way, this is how we built our culture. They identified, they named themselves the Water Warriors. I didn't do that. I just offered them this ability, this community. That we made t-shirts, we made stickers, we had fun sayings, make lemonade because that's the color your pea should be. And all these really fun things that became our community. And so you couldn't get that anywhere else. Other people could go do a 60-day hydration challenge, but our community was about living bigger, living bolder, stepping outside your comfort zone, being a water warrior. And so it was us. And that is something that completely decommoditized a water bottle brand. And we just kept things systemized and consistent, like I said. And this builds like an army of ambassadors, because when it's repetitive, people would come in and they'd say, hey, Alicia goes live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Make sure you show up. So I didn't have to indoctrinate our new members. They did. You know, our little army of people, they would be like, you haven't bought a water bottle? You haven't bought our sunset color? It's so cute. And so like you get people into this community and they did all the selling for me, which is just great, because that's way better marketing than you saying how wonderful you are when they say it. And so number 3, that was like how to structure it, the structure of everything, but how to use this community to make all aspects of your life easier. And this is definitely the best thing for me. But because you're going to genuinely transform and change the lives of your customers, you're going to get an endless supply of user-generated content. When I say endless, I mean endless. Because like people were posting all the time, like videos and pictures, and I didn't have to ask anymore. It was just like content coming in all the time of their experience with the water bottles, of drinking water, of changing their lives, talking about our supplements now, you know, and so like I didn't have to go out there and pay for brand ambassadors or try to like fake this content. This kind of content just came every single day. And by the time we sold, we didn't even get to use like a third of it. It was just like so much of it, which is like so helpful being like a one-woman marketing team, because I just now had content that I could use. And I just have this video just to kind of illustrate exactly what they would say and how powerful this was when you change somebody's life and you help them. This is the kind of content that we would get.
I have been drinking so much water, and it's because of these bottles, believe it or not. Good morning, water warriors. The reason I'm on today is, believe it or not, I'm grateful for water bottles. I never thought I would say that, but I'm grateful for these water bottles. I'm grateful for the company. They are so encouraging, and they treat their customers so well, you know, just not like any other business. And I'm just grateful for them, and I'm grateful for this group, and I'm grateful for my water bottle.
And that's, thank you. And that just like, it makes you feel good. Not only does that kind of content like sell, like that converts really well, but it just makes you feel good. And this kind of content, guys, is gold. Like it is like seriously gold. You can't pay an influencer to make this kind of content. You could use this kind of content for your paid ad strategy. Like it was all over Facebook now. We used it as our social media posts. I used it in our email marketing, in our flows, like you know, when somebody purchased, it's like, welcome, come join the 60-day hydration challenge. Across our website, blog posts and more. So I took this kind of content. This is an example of like what I would do. Like somebody like Sherry posted this incredible story with our water bottle and her drinking water, and I turned it into a blog post. And I wrote it, and I added her video, and then I made that blog post into an email, and I sent that email, and it's like not talking about the features of our water bottle, but it does a good job selling it. And this email did thousands of dollars in revenue. And then I put that video as an ad, and then the ad would do like thousands of dollars in revenue. And so you can just repurpose this content and scale, because it's like genuine and it's authentic. It's not an influencer that we had to go pay to like say nice things about us. It's a real story from a real woman whose life was changed by buying from us. Like this ad, this is one of my favorites. This one post brought in over $130,000 in sales on a $14 water bottle. That's a lot of water bottles. And it's just like, it's Debbie, and she just posted it inside of our group one day. I didn't even ask her. She's just like, this community has changed my life. I love Live Infinitely. This water bottle is so amazing. We ran that as an ad, and the rest is history. And that's just like kind of what we kept doing, and we kept getting those kind of videos because we were helping people drink more water, change their lives, and it makes your life easier for sure. Because like I said, everything becomes easier because your customers become your content and your marketing plan. You have transformational stories, real life experiences that you can now share and use as your marketing. And made my life easier. Like I said, I did our emails, ads, graphic design, photography. And no longer did I have to come up with this kind of content. I could just scrape it from the group and use it as our content, which was just like why we were able to scale at such a small team. Plus, like I said, you'll build a roadmap. And if you do plan on selling, like I said, this is going to be super valuable. Now we knew what products to sell. You know, we were no longer just picking off of bestseller ranks. Like we knew, okay, they want this supplement, they want this kind of water bottle. So when we would actually launch a product, it was a hit and we would sell out. We were like, there's so many times that we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop a foam roller that nobody cared about. and then you sit on this inventory forever, and that's painful when you're just a small business. And so those kind of mistakes you can't really afford to make when you're a very small business with very small margins. So now we knew what to sell because we'd ask them, and we developed the products with them in our live videos. We'd say, what do you guys think? Samples are in. And so then when the products launched, they're like, I built that. They feel this ownership of your company that it's theirs, and so they want to buy it now. And then just a reminder, like circling back for us, all of this from having a community, it tripled our revenue, increased our customer lifetime value by 45%, user-generated content that made the best converting ads, built raving fans, our little cult, and helped us understand our customers more to build that roadmap, which helped us sell our business, generated us new leads, and differentiated us because we were just water bottles. And not only has this helped, that worked for us, but I wanted to show you this example from one of my clients. It was just cool just to emphasize the hyper-engagedness. They already had a community. They had 2,400 members. Once they implemented a challenge as their way to do a community, they increased their members by 50%. Their posts increased by 800%. Their comments increased by 1,000%. Reaction by 8,000%. And before their challenge even started, we had like a call, and they told me before their challenge even had started, they had generated $37,000 in revenue. And by the time their community and their challenge ended, they had generated about $52,000 just from that group of people. And they did have an email list that they launched to, but what was really cool about it was they had this customer base that was waiting for them. They've been waiting for them for years to have a better way to engage with their brand. So when they introduced this to their community and to their customers, it lit like wildfire. And these guys are skincare. It's not health. They have a skincare product. So it's just really cool to see, work time and time again in just a bunch of different niches because people want communities. People are starving to have a place that they feel like they belong. And if you're the business that goes out there and goes the extra mile and provides that for these people, it pays. It pays dividends. And so this is also, we launched in 2014, and for many years, I genuinely wanted to feel like I was helping people live bigger, live bolder, all those great things. And by the time we had this community, this brought me more fulfillment than I had ever experienced. Even like hitting our first $1 million month, nothing felt as good as this kind of content or this kind of feedback. Like Holly says, thank you, Alicia. You're changing so many lives. You have created a safe and fun environment for us to be in. I love the positivity and support everyone puts into this group and everyone in it. Amanda says, thank you so much, Alicia. Ever since I found your company, I was hooked. This is the best group I've been a part of. I love you all. And Heather, I tell everybody I can about this company, and that's word of mouth marketing, which is great. But this gave me more fulfillment than anything I'd ever experienced because I genuinely wanted to make a difference. And I feel like that's why we do become entrepreneurs, is because we have this as an entrepreneur, you're kind of crazy, but you want to go out there and make a difference and an impact. And it was cool to sell products on Amazon and see our revenue grow, but this changed everything in the level of fulfillment that it brought, knowing that what we were doing was making a difference in the world. So that's why I end with this quote by Zig Ziglar, because it's absolutely true. You can have everything in life you want if you'll just help other people get what they want as well. And that's why challenges are so effective. And even if you don't do a challenge, but really take into consideration the customer journey your customers are on, how you can best serve them, how you can help them achieve that dream outcome, even if they never pay you. And I promise it'll change everything for your brand. So that is everything, and this is where you can find me if you want more information.